I was a freshman living in a twin room on the fourth floor of a mid-century dorm with paper-thin walls and radiators that hissed all night. My roommate, Lila, practically lived at her boyfriend's apartment across town. During the week, she'd drop in for a shower, grab a tote bag, and vanish again. We were friendly, not close. The kind of relationship where you nod, share a microwave, and mind your business. That first Friday, I caught the late train to see my sister 2 states over. I texted Lila I'd be back Monday around 6 a.m., that sweet dead hour before campus wakes up. The plan, dump my bag, crash until my 10 o'clock. I came back in the gray pre-dawn, the hall smelling like disinfectant and burnt coffee. Our room was mostly dark, except for a sliver of orange from the parking lot light slicing across the floor. Lila lay in her bed facing the wall, hair spilling over the pillow. I kicked off my shoes and climbed onto my lofted mattress, thick memory foam topper ID saved up for. 10 minutes in, barely drifting, I felt pressure at the side of my bed. Not a creak in the frame, not the radiator. It was the exact sensation of a palm pushing down near my hip, compressing foam until the mattress cupped around me. I went still. The pressure lifted, nothing else. When I looked over, Lila hadn't moved. Face to the wall, steady breathing. I made myself breathe with her and eventually passed out. Next Monday, same timing, same plan. I lay down, eyes gritty, and the mattress bowed again, deeper this time, like someone sat down right next to me. My bed was high enough that I used a small 2-step stool to climb in, and I heard a soft thump, like shoes leaving a rung, then the tiniest scrape of rubber on tile. I swallowed hard. Waited. The pressure left. Lila, still faced away, like a mannequin. There are explanations you cling to when the alternative is losing your mind. Sleep inertia, micro-dreams, a building that shifts. I picked one, anyone, and forced sleep. By the third Monday, fear preceded me into the room. Lila lay facing me this time, blanket tucked to her chin, eyes closed. I climbed up, pulled the covers to my shoulders, and stared at the ceiling. 5 minutes passed. Then the bed dipped, gentler, deliberate. A knee first, then the weight of a person sitting inches from my spine. When I didn't react, a hand settled on the back of my neck, not squeezing, not stroking, just resting, like someone measuring how much pressure it would take to press me into the mattress. My heart pounded so hard the bed vibrated. I could move. This wasn't paralysis. But I was convinced if I twitched, that hand would tighten. I don't know how long I lay like that. 2 minutes, 20, until the weight lifted. The knee slid away. Something stepped down onto the stool. Then silence. I rolled over so fast the frame groaned. Lila was turned toward the wall again, hair covering her face, blanket exactly as before. I grabbed my phone and keys and walked straight out. I called my mom from the stairwell and told her everything, hands shaking so bad I could barely keep the phone to my ear. Housing moved me that afternoon. They asked if I wanted campus police involved. I said no, there was no proof. I just asked that Lila get a single. While unpacking in my new room, scraps of memory rearranged themselves into a picture I didn't like. Lila joking once that her old roommate didn't last a month, but she'd never said why. The locked drawer in her desk ID, seen open once. A dozen prescription bottles with different names on the labels. Topical creams, antipsychotics, sedatives, explained away as skin stuff. A hair tie of mine I kept losing that later turned up on her nightstand, stretched out. 2 days later she messaged, I'd left a book and a binder. My old key still worked. I figured I'd run in, grab them, and go. The room was empty, air stale and cold. I snatched my things, turned for the door, and she was in the frame, eyes flat, like she'd been standing there a full minute. I played it casual. Hey, just grabbing these. She didn't move. What building did they put you in? she asked. First floor, I lied. Which hall? She took a half step closer, fingers worrying a hair elastic. By the laundry? By the RA desk? Which side? I said, by the stairwell. Another lie, and walked past. Her shoulder brushed mine and she whispered, too soft to be friendly. Good. Easier to visit. I didn't answer. I didn't run. I pushed into the hall and didn't come back. My mom thinks she'd been testing how close she could get before I reacted. I think about that hand every time I wake before my alarm. The weight, the patience, the way someone learns your body without ever seeing your face. I hope she never had another roommate. I went to a mid-sized university with a business building that felt like an empty aquarium at night. Fluorescents humming, air cold enough to see your breath if you exhaled slow. My laptop died the week our statistics capstone was due, so around 10 p.m., I badged into the second-floor lab to finish my regression models. The place reeked of bleach. Custodial had already come and gone. At 11:30, a door slammed somewhere deeper in the building. Old hinges echo. I told myself wind, ductwork, anything. Then came footsteps in the hall. Unhurried, heavy, heel then toe, stopping right outside the lab door. There's a small wired window in that door. If you lean back, you can see the strip of corridor. I kept my eyes on my screen. The handle rattled, not a casual test. A shake, metal against metal, like someone wanted me to know they were there. Our labs lock on a timer. Whoever it was, they shouldn't have been able to get in. After 30 seconds, the rattling stopped. The footsteps drifted away. I considered packing up. The clock read 11:38. I convinced myself it was a student without their ID and kept typing. 10 minutes later, fingers on the keyboard, I heard weight above me. Our ceilings are the cheap acoustic tiles that bow if a strong draft hits them. This wasn't a draft. Something crawled along the tracks, slow and deliberate, dust sifting through the seams onto the monitor. One tile near the corner flexed, dipped, then settled, like a knee shifting for leverage. I yanked my flash drive, stuffed my notebook into my backpack, and headed for the door. When I stepped into the hallway, it felt colder than the lab. The light in the stairwell was buzzing, half dead. I pushed through and started down, then made the mistake of looking up. A man stood on the landing above, one floor higher, a silhouette holding still in that bluish light. Not a professor, not a student. Clothes too big, layers of gray, one sleeve ripped at the cuff. He wasn't blocking the stairs so much as waiting, posture loose, mouth open in this hungry, silent grin. We made eye contact and time snapped. I ran, nearly fell. Sprint down to the ground floor, badge to the front door, beep. The moment the lock clicked, I shoved outside. And didn't stop until the dorms swallowed me. Daylight made me feel stupid, so I went back to submit my file in person. The lab looked ordinary. I would be convinced myself I'd imagined everything, if not for two details. One ceiling tile was missing directly above the desk ID used, and another was propped at an angle in the corner, exactly where I'd seen it flex. On the underside of the lab door handle, someone had looped a small zip tie and cut it halfway through. If you slid the tie over the strike and tugged, the latch wouldn't catch when the timer locked the door. Someone had been practicing. I bought a new laptop that week. I still work late sometimes, but never in a room with a drop ceiling, and I never sit under a tile I can't see. I'm from the UK. This happened when I was 16, at a brand new sixth form attached to a larger building that housed a nursery and a special needs school. All glass and lanyards, a modern fortress that looks secure until you realize security only works if everyone follows the rules. We all wore ID badges. You scanned to get past the foyer, then again between zones. Teachers drilled it into us on day one. Don't let anyone tailgate. Kids still held doors. Kids still flipped their IDs backwards so their faces didn't show. Rules are decorations when you're in a rush. Midday, 20 minutes after lunch, I asked to use the loo. Technically not allowed, but the teacher let me go. The halls were empty in that uncanny school-after-bell way. On my way back through the cafeteria, a man sat alone at a table. Not a student. 30s maybe, with a lanyard flipped so the photo side faced in. "Hey," he said, and I jumped so hard I squeaked. He laughed softly. "Didn't mean to scare you." I saw the badge. Relaxed. Teacher, I thought. He stood up, hands restless. Pockets clasped. Pockets again. "Can you give me a hand getting some work stuff in from the car? Just a couple bags." "Yeah, of course," I said, because that's what you say to authority in a quiet hallway. We walked through the foyer and out the main doors. The car park sits about 50 meters away, screened by bushes, so you don't see it until you're on the pavement. He didn't make small talk. No teacher voice. No, "Where are you meant to be?" Just that restless hands thing and quick glances toward the shrubs. "My car's the blue one at the end," he said. From a few meters away, I could see shapes in the back seat. Something shifting, knee against upholstery. I froze. One of the rear doors cracked open, and a second man started to get out. The first one grabbed my forearm. I don't know how I slipped him. Adrenaline makes you a miracle. But I wrenched free and ran so hard my shoes slapped the pavement. The school has big glass doors that take a second to part. It's the longest second of my life. I felt air behind me change like someone reaching. The doors slid. I darted through and beelined for the cafe counter that opens onto the library, babbling to the woman working there until she understood the only word that mattered. Men. Staff hustled me into an office, locked the door, called my parents and the police. CCTV caught the blue car and plates. The men were arrested and charged with attempted abduction. Later we learned how he got in. Someone had dropped a lanyard in the car park. He tapped it to the scanner with the ID flipped so no one would see it wasn't his. I didn't go back for 2 weeks. Therapy helped. So did writing this. If you wear a badge to get through a door, don't hold it open for a stranger with a smile and a story. And if someone flips their ID so you can't see their face, they're telling you who they are. You just have to believe them.